This is John for the Everyday Fan Sports. Tonight, I have the pleasure of being on the beat with Alissa Dalton of the Women's Professional Fastpitch League. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm always ready to talk softball, and you are obviously are certainly involved in softball. Can you tell us, when did you get involved? When did you start playing?
I started playing when I was 7 years old. I actually got a flyer at school that asked us to join like a little league ball team. And so I took it home and that's how I got started.
And when did you know that you were pretty good at it?
Um, I didn't realize, but the first time I was ever getting recruited, I actually started crying and ran to my mom panicking because I thought a guy was following me around.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it was then that I realized like, okay, I actually have a chance of like going to college, but because I had no idea about any of that. Like I didn't think about scholarships or playing in college or anything until I thought I was being stalked by a random guy and found out it was a college coach.
Wow. So then, like, how did that work then? When you're when you were in high school, obviously you were a very good player.
Mhm.
Did you, after that incident, then did you start looking into other colleges, or were they calling for you, or a little of both, or how did that
Yeah, a
work?
little bit of both. I started reaching out to schools that I would be interested in going to, but at that age, I was so young. I was maybe 14 when I started getting recruited. So I
Wow.
had no idea about any of that. So I had to meet with my tournament ball coach and she had to like talk me through like this is what we're going to do. This is how it works, and that's when it started kind of taking off.
And you, I know you ended up at Louisiana, but I don't. You didn't start there.
No, I started at the University of Oklahoma.
So how did you make your decision initially, at least, to go to Oklahoma?
Um, I just love the way they ran their program. So like I was meeting with Coach Gasso and they would like to have fun, but then they also like to take it seriously, obviously. So I just love the way they ran it. I love the connection that we had. I liked how the girls like communicated and hung out with each other. So that's what ultimately why I decided to go there because I just love the people that were there. I love the way they ran their program. I love the school, great education. So that's why I decided to go in there.
And then you finished your career at Louisiana. Was that just for a change, to just change things up, or was there any reason behind that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Houston, so I was always a little Southern girl kind of thing. And then I went to Norman, and it was kind of like a shell shock for me moving that far from home and just all that. So I decided that I wanted to go back to my Southern roots and made the decision to go to Louisiana.
Well, it was, both schools are good. I mean, growing up in Houston, though, I mean that it's pretty big sports town, Houston. I know my sister used to live down there. Um, how close is that to Louisiana then?
It was about a 4 hour drive to
Okay,
Lafayette.
so you probably had your relatives probably came over to watch you
Mhm.
play a bunch of times. So how cool is that, being playing for Louisiana and then having your relatives in the stands?
Oh yeah, it means everything when my family would come. I always tend to play better when they were there, even though like I just knew like the support was in the stands. But Louisiana, I was able to meet like family friends because the fans there are so involved with the girls. But yeah, when my family would come, it would mean the world to me because just for them to make the drive and take the time and the money to come and watch me play.
How much do you actually hear from, like, if your mom or whoever's in the stands yelling for you, like how much do you actually hear of that?
Me and my parents actually make a joke because still to this day, I don't hear anything usually when I'm playing on the field. Like I just zone out kind of thing. But then it's my dad is the only voice I will hear, but I'll never hear him if he says something positive. I only hear him if he says something negative. So like I would go after a game and I would be like, why would you say that while I was up to bat? And he'd be like, how did you hear me? And I'm like, well, I don't know.
Well, looking at your career, there couldn't be too many negatives, because I did see that you're like in the top 10 of pretty much every offensive category at Louisiana for your career. When you were getting ready to leave Louisiana, or after you left Louisiana, you ended up now with the WPF. How did that take place?
I had Coach Glasgow at Louisiana and he was involved with the Pride at the time. And he just asked me, like, would you be interested in playing pro? What are your thoughts? Because I am a full-time school teacher. So he was kind of asking like what I was thinking. And I just let him know, like, yeah, I'd be kind of interested. And then I found out like 2 weeks later, got a call from Don, which is our general manager. And he was like, so you ready to play? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready to get back. So that's kind of how it took off.
And you played for the Smash It Sports Vipers.
Mhm.
Um, when you were signed, like you sign with the league and then they assign you to a team, or does each team, like, how does that work?
So because I didn't get drafted right out of college, when he called me, it was to sign with the Vipers. So it wasn't like we just signed the WPF. He called me as the representative for the Vipers to come play for them.
And how would you rate your first season there, like the whole experience of playing?
Oh, it was awesome. I've never played with a group of girls that got along so well and that just our team meshed. There's never any problems, never any drama going on. And then on the field, I think it showed a little bit, like for a first year professional team to come out with a winning season and competing the way we did. It was just overall a great experience, and I'm looking forward to playing again next year.
That was my next question. So you do plan on coming back?
Yes, I do.
Cool. And I know that they've added another team. They've added a team in Oklahoma City, and I would guess there'll probably be another team to at least make it forward to kind of balance it out. Do you know, are they going to, like this year was an exhibition season. So next season, are they planning on making it a regular season? Do you know?
I honestly have no idea. I know the end goal is to make it like a regular season with something like to be playing for, like a championship and getting more competitive with it. But I think it also depends on how many teams sign up and like how we can do that. Because last year we were just playing the Pride. So it was just kind of trying to get word out, spread awareness, and let girls know like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to build this up. So I'm not sure exactly how this year is going to be run, but it's also kind of a waiting game, seeing if other people will start making teams and seeing where we can go from there.
Well, I know, like I've told you in the message, I mean, I'm based in Chicago, but we drove down to Peoria for that series, like mid-July, I think it was late July. And that was crazy. That the stands it was standing room only. People were lined up everywhere. I know for like, I think it was 3 games. They were all like crazy. That was an amazing experience just as a fan. And I'm hoping that you guys at least return back to Peoria for a series, if not even come to Chicago. But like, were all the games like that? Were you drawing huge crowds like that for everything?
Yeah. So this year, our goal was we kind of looked at the biggest tournaments on this side of the coast, and we just went to where those biggest ball tournaments were going on. And so we could just help again, spreading the awareness, spreading the word that we're trying to build a professional league for softball. And eventually we want it to be like the MLB. We want to be like the NF. We want it to be to where it's the dream to go and play that way. But yeah, so we were always playing where there was other like tournament ball was going on. So it was kind of like every single game was pretty much packed, if not hundreds or thousands of people were sitting in the stands.
Yeah. Now, how does it feel? You know, you're playing there. Obviously, you're playing on the field in front of the fans. And I've seen well, I was going to say I've seen the little girls line up, but I've seen fans of all ages actually line up. But how cool is it for you to see like the little girls, wearing your jersey or carrying a sign? I mean, you're obviously a role model for them.
Yeah, it was awesome. It brought a lot of memories back from when I was that age and I was watching girls play, and I would just like do anything I could just to go watch them play or get a ball signed, and they would just be the best thing in the world. So it really puts a lot in perspective too, because like as a professional athlete, like sometimes after a game, if you have a really bad game or your team loses, you're like, okay, well, do I really want to go talk to fans? But then you just think like, imagine when you were a kid, like you didn't care about the wins or the losses or how they played. Like you just wanted to meet them or be in the presence of that person. So I think it was kind of awesome just to be on the other side of it and realize like everything you're doing is making a difference in these kids' lives. So just try to make a positive experience out of everything.
No, you mentioned, you yourself as a kid following softball. So who are some of your favorites from back then or even now?
Yeah. So back then there was I remember my favorite team of all time was the 2008 Olympic team. So like Natasha Watley, Jenny Finch, Caitlin Lowe, all those girls. We would drive hours and hours. Like we went to the World Cup one time and I just stood in line for hours just to get the autograph, and no complaints from me. I was just happy to be there, happy to be around them and just in awe, honestly, all the time. So that was kind of, because college softball now has took off a lot more than it was when I was growing up. So when I was growing up, it was the Olympic team. Like that was who my jaw would drop for.
Yeah, and I know in your bio it mentioned that Jessica Mendoza is one of your favorites.
She is my favorite.
Any particular, or have you met her?
I met her when I was 8. I haven't gotten the chance to see her again afterward, but she just always gave her heart, and the way she played, she'd always go 100%. And I just love that. Like, I love the drive just to keep going and just show how much you love the game on the field. So that was why she was my favorite.
And I know you're excellent offensively and defensively, so I'm going to ask a really tough question. Defensive play of the game or game-winning hit?
Game-winning hit. Always.
Oh, okay.
Always. Because you got to – defensive play of the game, that's great, I think, for like individually. It's really awesome to make that one play that everybody's like, oh, wow. But if you get the game-winning hit, like, it's not just you're doing it for yourself, you're also doing it and winning it for the team. So I think that would be by far better.
And when you're not playing softball, when you're not working out for softball, because I know when you're playing, it's like a full-time job. I've seen the other leagues, I've seen the college women playing, so I know how dedicated you all are. When you have a few extra minutes, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I like to bake. Honestly, I'm not the best baker. I'm not very good at it, but even in college, if there was an afternoon we had off, I would just go bake or hang out with my roommates or try to cook for them and do stuff like that. Just something outside of the game to step away for a little bit.
So then what's your go-to dish for baking?
Lemon bars.
Oh,
I love making lemon bars.
oh, excellent. Yeah, I also read in your bio that you're a big basketball fan.
Mm-hmm, I
Is
am.
that WNBA, NBA, college?
NBA. My dad grew me up on the Mavericks, so they're my favorite team.
Oh, Mark Cuban.
Yeah, Mark Cuban for sure.
Well, listen, Alyssa, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I've always been a big supporter of women's sports, and like I said, I encourage everyone to come out to WPF games next year. I know the schedule's not out yet, but when it is, we will publish it. And I mean, it was such a blast. It was so great seeing all you. Oh, one last question I have to ask you. I've never seen a team. The women that play softball, there seems to be a real tight bond with them. You guys have more fun and are so tight. And even when you're done or when you get traded to a different team or leave schools, there seems to be a bond that I don't see in any other sport. Am I making that up, or is
No, you're right. I agree with it. I think it just comes down to, like, with softball, especially because it's not well known. There's we're not as big as the WNBA. We're not as big as other professional sports or leagues. So like, you kind of just go out because you are playing for the love of the game and sharing that with other amazing women surrounding you all the time. It is awesome. And with softball, like, I played basketball growing up too, but with softball, like, our team all the time would just be, hey, we're going to put in extra work. Who wants to come? And then we'd have the whole team show up, and it'd basically be like a practice outside of a practice. And it's just, again, sharing the love of the game, enjoying the sport, and wanting to get better at your craft to help make others better, I think, is kind of what keeps us connected.
Well, yeah, the more fun that you guys have on the field, and we all can see it as fans, the more fun that we have in the stands.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the little girl following my idols, but I just love watching you guys. I think it's fantastic. It's truly, if I had to pick one sport and one thing to watch, it would be women's softball. I just absolutely love it. So I really appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you next season play. If you come to Peoria, I will be down there again. If you come anywhere near Chicago, I will be out there. And until then, I wish you well, and thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, hopefully we'll have you again next season.
Yes, sir. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Alyssa. You have a great night. I appreciate it.
You too. Bye.